Well, hey, happy autumn, Cocktails and Dreams fans. We're going to pumpkin spice things up for you a little bit this spooky season. Are you annoyed yet? Are you? Well, if not, stay tuned. We're going to make sure that we hit all the Halloween platitudes.
All right, Jeramie, that's enough. I am officially taking this podcast over, and today we are going to be talking about all things spooky, getting us into that Halloween spirit by talking to Ryan and Shae. Now, they have been on the show before. We will link that show in the show notes. We're also going to be hearing from Dan and Rhonda Fortin. So you're going to have some familiar faces around. And of course, I'm going to be hosting the show along with Luke Johnston. Hopefully this will get you in the mood for this spooky fall season. So let's jump right into the podcast.
And I remember at one point, you said that you said something to her while you were showing her properties, and she laughed like a witch. She goes,
totally casual. All right, guys, today we are on Cocktails and Dreams, and we are taking over this podcast so we can talk about all things scary in real estate. Ooh. All right, guys, so here we are today, and we are with Luke Johnston, here with EXP, part of the Worley Real Estate Network. And we're here with Ryan and Shae. Hey, let's introduce you guys. Tell me who you are, where you're from, what you do, all the things we need to know.
I'm Ryan Duffy, my beautiful wife Shae Duffy. We're with Duffy Homes Real Estate, Duffy Homes Construction, and we are originally from Chicago, but we came to the Ozarks in 2016, and this is our home now.
I love it. And you're not just taking over Missouri, you're in Arkansas now, so you guys are really taking over the Ozarks.
Well, to be fair, we moved to Arkansas,
Gotcha.
But we're right on the border, so I mean we're a stone's throw away from Missouri. But yeah, I don't know about taking over, but we're trying to do our.
we're definitely taking over Omaha, Arkansas.
I think you're dominating.
Yeah, given the chance, I think you would take over Arkansas.
Given the chance, we would, yes. Yeah.
You're just having fun.
Awesome. Well, also co-hosting with me this evening is Luke Johnston. Luke, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started investing in real estate in 2017, and I just loved it. It's all I ever thought about. So I quit my job with the railroad and came to work at Worley Real Estate Network, where I first invested with Jason Yeager was my first agent.
Realtor.
Yeah, Realtor, yes. And he just he taught me a lot, and it was really good to learn about it. But it literally was all I thought about. I couldn't do my job. I was just I was at the railroad. I didn't think about it, didn't love it. But whenever I'd go home, I would be all about the real estate. And so after COVID, I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I here? I don't even like this. And so I quit, and Shae Duffy actually taught me everything I know in real estate. She was the trainer at the time. And yeah, she taught me contracts, and it was a really good transition out of the railroad for sure. Satirah, tell everybody who your favorite agent is.
My favorite agent is probably you, because I wouldn't be here without you. So, obviously, my name is Satirah Moore, and I do Satirah Lives Branson. It's a social media channel where you can come and I show you things to do, see, and eat in Branson, Missouri. I was running around town doing all these crazy things, but doing crazy things all day doesn't really pay the bills. And so I thought, if I'm going to be here, I need to start making a little bit of money. And so being a real estate owner, we own a home, we own an office building, we own different stuff. I thought, hey, let's do some real estate stuff. So I started buying short-term rentals. Luke was my agent, sold me a short-term rental, and then I was hooked. And then I couldn't think about anything else except for real estate.
Yeah, come on.
Yep. So I went and grabbed my license, and here we are today.
I love it. I'm glad you're here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tonight we're going to be talking about spooky stories. So tell me all about it.
Well, we must be kind of touched with spooky real estate transactions. Our very first real estate investment, which was the first house we purchased, because obviously home ownership is a huge investment, turned out to be, we believe now that we've sold it and moved on, a haunted house.
Well, we knew it then.
Well, we didn't know it when we bought it.
No, it was an estate sale, and dead of winter in Chicago, and so we had a heck of a time with our house hunt. But anyway, So we finally closed on a home built in 1916 in Northwest Chicago, in Chicago, not in the suburbs. And it was built, we think it was like a Sears
It was a
home.
Sears
It was a
home.
bungalow.
Yeah, it was a old, classic Chicago bungalow, Sears kit home. We actually found during one of the remodels, we busted open the porch floor, and there were a bunch of stacks of newspapers, and there was an actual advertisement in there for the kit where you could buy it from Sears and Roebuck.
Wow.
So by the time we took possession of it, we were the third owners. It was built in 1916.
So both people before us owned it for like 50 years.
Mm-hmm. And we came to find out later, both owners previously had died in the house.
Dun, dun, dun.
And at least the owners prior to us, the dad or the husband, they raised some grandkids there and everything, but apparently he was really, really abusive. And, in hindsight, looking at, because it was dormered and it had these weird closets, and you could tell that, or you could easily conclude, I'll say it that way, that perhaps children were locked in these closets and spent a lot of time in them. There was a mural inside the closet. There was locks
On the
positioned
outsides of the
in such a
closets.
way. And then after we had sold the home, we were moving our stuff out, and it had those classic wood-paneled walls. We realized that if you pushed against one, it would pop out. It was magnetic, and it was like a secret. And apparently someone could walk back there and pull a string and turn on a light, and they could actually see into the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, we lived in the house for 3 years?
Yeah.
Just about, and we realized this as we were packing up to move. Like I was packing up one of the upstairs bedrooms. Like it was just the two of us. We had by the time we moved out, our son Gavin was about 2 years old. Shay's sister Carly rented the upstairs from us. I mean, we never hardly ever set foot upstairs. Just too much of a house for us.
It was a big house.
Big
also.
house, yeah.
It was 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, plus it had a big unfinished basement.
Yeah. So I was upstairs boxing up some miscellaneous stuff in the second level, and like dropped something behind a dresser, and like leaned over and like held it on the corner, and then like leaned back and the corner popped out. It was like a hidden like magnetic lock, and I'm like, that's weird. So I pulled the dresser away, and it's a door, and there was a string hanging there. I pull the string and it lights up. That's freaking weird. And so I walk back in there, and it like circles around to right behind the bathroom mirror, and there was a stool sitting there.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, this is freaking creepy. This
Now,
is really
now
creepy.
back up. Tell me how much personal property was in this house when you bought it? Was it like just like
Hardly anything.
Okay.
I mean, really nothing. I mean, it was an estate sale. The what we believe or came to find out was like an abusive person had passed away in the house. And so when we walked through it with our agent, like there was some miscellaneous furniture and stuff, but most of it was cleared out by the time we actually took possession.
Wow.
But it started like literally from day one. Like it was a bad deal.
So I guess just to backpedal, like a week before closing, I found out that I was pregnant with our first child.
Oh.
So super excited.
Yeah.
congratulations?
A great way to celebrate.
The day we closed, I had a miscarriage.
Oh.
The day we started moving in, I had a miscarriage. And it was from that day on, it was one thing after another with tragedy, with depression, with anxiety, our marriage. It was like the worst time of our lives. And Ryan was a fireman for the Chicago Fire Department, and his shifts were 24 hours on, 48 hours off. So I was home alone a lot and at night, and my sister worked nights, and I always felt just scared and uncomfortable, and I never could understand why. And Ryan, when we first moved there, you actually had a visual in the basement in that
Yeah, I think we've been there for a little short period of time before that. But I mean, I'm not really a superstitious person. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in all this stuff really up until this point. But there was a bunch of times I'd walk in the washer and dryer in the basement, big unfinished basement, and there were a bunch of times I'd walk down there, I'd just feel like there's somebody in the corner watching me. And especially you'd walk out, so you'd walk the washer and dryer, and then there was an exterior door that came in under the outside porch and then up some stairs, and there was like this weird, just like storage area under the porch, you know. Every single time I'd walk past there, I'd feel like there's something like reaching out at me, like really weird, like hard to describe, you know, like just a really intense feeling. And a couple of times, like out of the corner of my eye, I'd see something, and it was like a demon, like really strange and really like deeply visual, and like not under the influence of anything either, you know, like and there was one time where like I actually like lashed out at it and like leave me alone, like stop trying to touch me, like it was weird.
Well, you said it had horns, like
you
could
horns,
see it, and it had horns, but you said you felt like it had an evil vibe, but it was still kind of cowering and more scared of you. Yeah,
and that was like the weird like underlying I guess theme of the whole time we lived there. Like there was something else in the house. It was bad. It was not a good presence, but it just didn't want us to be there, you know. And there was one time you even said, like, while you were packing up, like you just like turned around and screamed, like, "We're done. We're leaving. You can have it."
Yeah. So after we repainted, the only part of the house that we really did any work on was the downstairs. We repainted all of it, and it seemed like it kind of felt better at that point. But my sister had lived upstairs, and we were packing, and I mean, we were moving, and I was upstairs by myself packing, and I just, out of nowhere, I just yelled. I said, "We're moving. We're done. You can have it." And it just came over me to just say that, and nobody else was there. But so once we improved the downstairs in terms of we painted it, and from what I read, that actually helps if you kind of reclaim, like if you claim a space as your own, if you do some remodeling or something, then you're physically
putting your mark on it.
Exactly. So it did feel better then, but then we still had the upstairs where my sister lived, and we had some weird stories there, even with guests. Whenever Ryan's sister Shannon and her husband Jim, they would stay with us sometimes because they lived in the suburbs. It was a far drive, so they would stay the night. We had plenty of room, and there was, I believe, twice where in the middle of the night, Jim would wake up. I don't know why he always wakes up in the middle of the night. No, anyway, it's just Jim. Yeah. But he couldn't get out. Like the door wouldn't open, the doorknob like would fall off. Like he couldn't. He would just be locked in there twice, and he couldn't get out. And that never happened to anybody else. Like there wasn't anything wrong with the door, but for whatever reason, twice he couldn't get out. And then
there were a bunch of times where we'd be sitting in the living room in the main level, and you hear footsteps upstairs, and no one's home. Bunch of times. There was one time I heard somebody open the door to go upstairs, and it was on a self-closer. Because this time we had Gavin was a toddler, and he was crawling around, you know, so we had self-closers on the doors. And someone opened the door slammed shut, and then I heard something going upstairs. And I mean, I went to the safe and grabbed a gun. I thought there was an intruder in the house. I went upstairs, and there was nobody there. And then the bats. The bat thing.
Yeah, so kind of our last weird thing. We ended up having an infestation of bats. Bats.
Inside the house?
Was it 3 times or 2 times?
2 times.
2 times, okay. Yeah. So.
And they only actually got into the house when Ryan was gone at the fire department. It happened twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with all that being said, like, this is your first real estate, investment, and you're like, I just want to do this the rest of my life. Like, that sounds like a horrible start to a great thing.
Definitely not. No, we're done. We're going to rent an apartment. We're done. Like, this is crazy stuff.
But we sold the house and made 6 figures. So.
We did, yeah.
And that changes everything.
There's that.
Just kidding.
Just start it again.
Okay.
Okay, Brian, we're going to edit this now. Go.
All right, so we are back tonight with our good friends Dan and Rhonda to tell another horror story. So you might know Dan and Rhonda from previous episodes. We are going to put those details in the show notes. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, I have heard that you guys have a juicy horror story when it comes to real estate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This goes back a number of years, 6 years now, I think. We were newer agents, and we got a call from a guy, and he was like, hey, you guys realtors? We said, yeah, sure. Well, I need to sell my house. Come tell me how much you could sell my house for. So, of course, we were like, yeah, we got a listing. So we hop in the car, and we headed off, and it was on the north side of Springfield. And if you're not familiar with Springfield, Missouri, there are parts of the north side that can get pretty rough, okay? And as we journeyed towards this house, we noticed that we were getting to one of those portions. It was pretty rough. We saw what we're pretty sure on the corner, right before we turned in the driveway, we saw what we believe was a lady of the night working. And so then we went ahead and pulled in the driveway, and we're like, well, you know, we need a listing, we want a listing, we're new agents, we'll check this out, right? Maybe he's willing to sell for cheap. So because we were a little unnerved about the area and the location and everything, I went ahead and grabbed my gun, and thank God I did. So we walked up to the door, and what happened next, Rhonda?
And the seller gentleman opened the door, and we introduced ourselves, and he invited us in, and my heart was racing because it just had a god-awful smell that I had never smelled before. Wasn't sure what the smell was. So we go in, and it's dark. There's lots of people in rooms. It's quiet. He's showing us each room. My heart is racing. By now, I'm scared to death.
Spidey senses are going off.
Yes.
So, like, I'm just tell me, describe a room.
It has a bed. Curtains are closed. The guy was sitting in the chair at a desk, just stabbing the desk like this. You could tell he was not
In his right mind.
coherent. And he's like, yeah, just come on in. And I didn't want to go in. I looked at Dan and just let him know I am scared to death. I don't know that we're going to get out of this house. We go to the next bedroom. There was like 3 people in there. One person's just staring at the ceiling. The other person was just laying on the bed looking at the floor. So I felt like they were all under the influence of something, and I was not comfortable at all. The third bedroom had 4 people in it, and like one of them was just mumbling, sitting in a chair, and she was just mumbling. And I'm making sure Dan is behind me because I didn't know what these people were going to do, if anything.
Sure.
He's guiding us through the house. We get to the kitchen. It is like mounds of dishes, roaches everywhere, black on the dishes, hole in the floor. The cabinets are just like the doors are slanted. I see the back door, and I just keep walking to the back door because I figured that was my only way I was getting out, because I was not going back through the front
I gotta
door.
get out of here.
So when I'm looking out the window at the kitchen thinking that's my exit, the deck looks like it's going to fall apart. So there's a tent in the backyard, and there's a group of people in the backyard that are living in this tent.
You've got
Yeah.
squatters in the
I think
backyard.
there was a camper trailer too, and people living in that.
So, like, I know I was sweating. I just had to get out of the house because I was afraid to go back the other way.
Yeah.
How are you feeling, Dan?
I was freaking out. So, once I realized that it wasn't just us and Mr. Seller, it was us, Mr. Seller, and 20 of his drugged out zombie friends. He's leading the way. Rhonda's in front of me the whole time. Everywhere we went, I'm trying to keep my back to a wall to make sure no one can jump me.
You're getting robbed.
Yeah. So I'm nervous as all heck too. And when we first walked into the kitchen, I remember, it was disgusting like Rhonda described, but there was so many roaches that they scattered. It was like a mini herd going across the counter and the floor as we walked in. Like, that's how disgusting this house was. And one of the rooms, there was a guy, I think there might have been several, but I remember this guy, he was sitting in an easy chair, and there was a TV across from him, and the TV was off, but boy, he was watching that TV.
Watching it.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know what they were all on, but it was nuts. And we weren't getting out the back door.
We ended up going out the back door with probably 2 or 3 feet of grass. And I'm thinking, I'm just going to get ticks. I'd rather get ticks than go out the front door. So we just kind of crawled our way to the boards that were stable to get to the tall grass to get to our vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Who did you send that referral to? Because it sounds like a really great one to send to somebody
else. You took the listing, right?
Yeah,
You took the listing, right?
We didn't have any enemies in real estate at that point, so we didn't refer it out.
What happened after that?
We were like, we'll get back to you with the price. Thanks a lot, bye. And
slam the door in the car.
Peeled rubber.
How many real estate agents do you think he went through?
Every one of them probably that was dumb enough to come.
Anyway, I'm not supposed to cross legs. No crossing legs.
No, you can cross your leg, this leg over that, and
Okay.
you're just showing your booty to me, not the camera, so you're fine.
And my extensions. Thanks.
Hold on.
Are those extensions?
Shut up, Luke.
I love your hair.
Shut up, Luke.
All right.
Talk. Don't talk.
Satirah, thank you for taking over this podcast. These stories have been awesome. I've been listening from afar. You guys, what?
Start over because you're
You're
shaking
chingling
that.
it the whole time.
I'll shake my rocks if I want to, baby. Okay, so I have a scary story for Halloween because this one actually happened on Halloween. The first year that I was ever in real estate.
Oh, you were so eager.
What year?
It was 2006. No, this would have been 07 at this point. Was it 72 or 73? It matters to me, but not to you guys.
That's
so,
hilarious.
But a good reference question because this was before any kind of real estate boom. Actually, when I first started real estate, I've had a really cool opportunity to experience a full market cycle now, and that's a really cool sort of set of wisdom to have because strategies change, and so like. When I was first in real estate, like we're using some of the same strategies now. Sure. And I haven't pulled these out for years, for decades. And so it's really, really fun to do this.
Decades.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Back when I was real estate agent, we didn't have scan and DocuSign. We had to drive to a city gas station at midnight.
Oh my God.
It's true. Like I got really good at negotiating because of counteroffers. I
didn't
didn't
wanna
want to do a
have-
counteroffer
Right.
because you had sick babies that were throwing up, and I'm like, I gotta get a counteroffer.
I
signed.
had sick
I gotta
babies,
drive to
not we.
Highway 86 at midnight. Literally, I did this. I signed contracts on the hood of my car when I started my own brokerage, just because I was like, it was just me, and I was doing it, and I was like, I was living life, signing papers at a gas station. That's the glamorous life of a real estate agent that they don't show on TV, like.
So you were this eager real estate agent
Yes.
on Halloween.
Yes, I was kicking butt because I was commission only. You were working retail, and we had kids, and we had goals, we had aspirations. So
Sure.
Halloween came around. I'm a new dad, relatively new dad, and I get this call from this lady, and I had advertised in like half a page of a print ad magazine, and I got a lot of weird calls off of that. I still remember like the weirdest real estate deals I've ever had in my life came off of these weird magazine calls, like predators like prey on realtors and those, and I got so preyed upon because I was so eager. And there was a situation where I got a call, and it was on a big listing, and I got a call on this like, big hotel listing, and then I started giving her some information on the hotel, and then she said she wanted to look at a house, and I was like, okay, well, I'm happy to do that. And this house was in Galena, which is pretty far away from where I'm at. I'm kind of based in Branson. To give you a frame of reference, Galena is many windy, roads away through countryside and dark places and creepy trees and owls and run down, you know, the hillbilliest looking cars out in the front of a driveway. And I'm new to the area relatively, so I'm from the suburbs. Like, I drive through one subdivision to get to a subdivision to get to a subdivision. So the rural America can be scary to people that aren't used to it, just like the city can be scary to people that aren't used to that. So it's already a scary setting. I'm trying to feed my family. Nothing's going to stop me from showing up and, you know, hunting, killing, and eating. I'm like, Halloween night, I'm going to bring home this chick wants to buy a hotel. She wants to buy a house. I'm going to meet this lady. And she's like, yeah, I can meet. I'm like, yeah, I can meet 8 o'clock tonight.
And I was kind of like, I don't know if you have to do that tonight. I mean, can't you do it tomorrow
And I'm like,
night?
this is a deal, babe. Like,
You've got a kid, and certainly this can wait.
What were they dressed up as? Like, I mean, it's Halloween. Like, your
Right.
kids are going out and trying to get candy.
Kelly was so good at
yeah,
this.
she was a ladybug.
Of course.
I know.
And but truly, like, I've always chosen my family over my career 100% of the time. It's so special. I love these guys. And Kelly was right. She was right to mark me as a dad in that moment. She gave me the blessing of the identity of a dad in that moment. And so I said, you're right. You know, I'm not missing this Halloween with my kids. Nothing matters more than that. And there's been many times in my career where I've had to say that and remind myself of that. And I was still ambitious to sort of meet this lady, but following the advice of my smart, lovely, gorgeous wife, I called up this lady and I said, hey, for the first time in my career, had the confidence to say no. And I said, you know, I'm going to have to pass on tonight because it is Halloween. My wife reminded me that I got to be there for my kids, and I do want to be, so can we maybe reschedule for tomorrow or another day? And she's like, well, how late you going to be? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe we can make this work, you know? I was like, well, I think we'll probably be done by like 9:30, and I'm like, we can make this work. And so I told Kelly, and she's like, Jeramie, like, nah, like,
What are you doing?
like, not tonight.
Right.
Like, haven't we already had this conversation? You
Have
know?
you seen the ladybug? You know, at that point, like, you're thinking, like, yeah, like, you got to come home to something.
You know, I just the drive to win,
Sure.
it was really tough for me.
You were hungry.
I was very, very hungry, very driven.
Mm-hmm.
I called this lady back, and I'm like, you know what? We might be later. Like, I was just trying to find an excuse to tell her that this might be later. So I was like, we'll probably be past 11:30, like maybe midnight. And she's like, well, I could go then.
Wow.
Like, this is my question.
Halloween night at midnight.
Right.
I could go
You're
then.
about to be sacrificed,
Yes.
buddy.
Right? Like, as a seasoned human being and a seasoned agent, aren't there, like, some red flags at this point where you're...
I have a question. Who's hungrier, her or you?
Oh, great question. Definitely me, because I agreed to meet her the next day. And she was like, okay. And here's the also funny thing. She didn't have a cell phone. I could only contact her on the hotel phone. She was staying at a hotel, and I could only contact her through the hotel phone.
Oh, wow.
And
Yet she can buy a house and a
Yeah.
hotel.
But not a cell phone.
no. And so I met her at some, like, seedy, like, timeshare apartments. It was a really seedy hotel in Branson, like the kind where all the doors are on the outside, on top floor and bottom floor. I'm waiting in my car, and I told myself, like, if she looks like a witch, I'm driving off. That's it. If she looks like a witch, I'm gone. If she has black hair down past her ass, I am driving off immediately.
It sounds like you have really high standards, so that's good. That's
I do.
good. I like that.
Well, you would think so, because she came walking down the stairs, and she had charcoal black hair down past her butt. She looked like a witch. I'm telling you, you know the witch from Bugs Bunny? The kind that when she, like,
Yes.
like yikesing away and, like, left the, like, hairpins and all that dropping. Like, that's what she looked like. Her nose was big. She had long black hair, and she had this bag that was very ornate and well designed with wooden handles, and it was a It was a cloth bag that was very velvety with lots of like symbols and stuff on it. I let her in my car, and
did she sit in the back or the front seat?
she sat next to
Okay.
me. And we drove off to Galena together. So I violated so many of my values in that moment just to succeed. And we're driving over there, and I really couldn't talk. Like, I'm such a horrible conversationalist anyway. And the cool thing about this story is that nobody does this anymore. Nobody gets in cars with people they don't know.
Right.
We're past this, society-wise. So I'm an introvert having to make conversation with somebody I don't know, who I know probably 80% chance is going to try to murder me.
Or eat you.
At least it was daylight.
Or
eat
eat
me.
you.
And it was daylight. And this story gets better, I promise you. So, okay. We drive to this house in Galena. I don't remember what happened. I was very much like white-knuckling it to this house. And we got to the house, and I went ahead and unlocked the door, and we didn't have an app. We had a little box with a battery you had to charge. So imagine having to get up every day and charge a lithium-ion battery just so you could show houses
To
every day.
unlock the door.
And you didn't know if you were going to show a house that day or not, but you had to get up and charge your battery just in case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's what you had to do. And so I had my battery charged, and sometimes your battery wasn't charged. Sometimes, when you forgot to charge your battery, you had to charge the battery in the house while you're showing the property because I forgot to charge my battery. Because I have kids and life happens. And realtors nowadays have it so easy because they don't have to charge their battery. It's on their phone. Give me a break. Stop making excuses. And so
Get on with it.
I can't help it. I can't help it. So I open the door for this lady, and she goes, and I say, you know what? I'm going to let you go ahead and look around because I forgot something in my car. And I knew she had left her bag in her car, and I don't do this. Like, I'm super big on privacy. I went and I searched her bag to make sure there wasn't a sacrificial knife in there with like the Eye of the Dragon ruby on it. You know, I wasn't going to get sacrificed because that's how much I think about the future.
Well, I have read the Code of Ethics, and I don't think it mentions anything like that. I think you're fine. Yeah.
What if she had it in her bodice? That's my thought. Like, it's on her
even think of
body.
that. I didn't even think about that. I didn't think about her bodice.
1800s.
Yeah, skip the bodice. Like,
Witches live forever. You never know.
She was, yeah, I mean, there was a lot
You're
of
really
places to
buying
hide
into
stuff.
this.
Yes, I'm invested in this story.
She could have had something on her bodice, but I felt confident enough to come in and show her the rest of the property. We looked at a number of properties, and we came back, and on the drive back, she got very opinionated. And she started talking about, like, religious things, and she started talking about the blood of Jesus. And, I mean, I talk about the blood of Jesus,
Sure.
too. For me, I'm Christian, so it's a sacred thing. But she started talking about it in a really weird way, and it really kind of made me uncomfortable. Ultimately, the conversation just kind of got disjointed after that. Because she started complaining about cell phones, and I was talking on the cell phone, and I was letting her know on my cell phone that someone was expecting me. Because I wanted her to know that my wife was expecting me, so I was like, "Hi, I'm going to be a little bit longer with this lady, and just letting you know I'm, going to get there." And because I wanted her to know that there was somebody expecting me, so to not murder me on
Sure.
the way. If this was her last opportunity, you're not going to get it because someone's expecting me. She started talking about all these weird things and like how those cell phones, how I shouldn't use cell phones because they were going to cause cancer. But this woman like chain smoked the entire time. And
in your car.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
And you let her.
I did, yeah. So at this point in my career, I was already fed up with this woman. Like most people like Kelly would be super patient and would endure the, whatever. At this point, I confronted this lady, and I'm like, yeah, it can't be any worse than those cigarettes you're smoking,
While you're on the phone with your wife?
No, I had hung up with Kelly at this point, but we're having a conversation about cancer. Like, you want to have a conversation with me about cancer and you're smoking? So, it didn't really go really well. And at that point, I was like, so are you pre-approved to buy a property? And she didn't call me back after that. Ultimately, I pissed her off because I asked her if she was pre-approved. I really didn't know where this was going, and it was weird.
From this experience, we created the new agent training program.
Yeah.
Are they pre-approved? Don't show properties on Halloween. Those are two of the rules.
Some
Don't
of the
let a
most
stranger in your car.
I was going to say, some of the most expensive hotels in town are owned by somebody with long black hair that chain smokes cigarettes. So, like, was it a good...
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't have said anything. I don't know.
I don't know.
I really thought you were going to tell me that she put a spell on you and you've been addicted to real estate since.
Oh.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Maybe that is what happened, and I don't know it. Okay, that was... Well, a big thank you for listening to the end of our podcast. I know your time is valuable, and I hope you got a few takeaways that are going to help you get a greater return on that time. I know you will. And if you did enjoy it, I'd sure appreciate a share or a comment. Feel free to subscribe for instant access to new episodes and offers. There's also a ton of free content and ways to learn more and engage more at worleyrealestatenetwork.com. Until then, we'll continue to bring you recipes for success and real stories from real people who, like you, are living out your divine purpose. And hey, God loves you. No matter what happens, don't give up.
Making connections, dreams taking flight. Join us, we're soaring through day and night. So tune in and share, let inspiration flow. Cocktails and dreams, together we grow.